Hey everyone, so earlier today news broke that Batwoman will be getting her own series on the CW, so naturally that brings up a lot of questions, so let's jump into it. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for more Arrowverse videos. So the first couple of questions everyone might be thinking right now is this show going to be connected to the Arrowverse? Since she's debuting in the Arrowverse crossover this year, I'd say yes, it's going to be connected to the Arrowverse. The next question would be, is this going to be an Earth 1 Batwoman or a Batwoman from a different Earth in the multiverse? Since Earth X was last year's crossover and since the multiverse is one of their biggest plot devices, I think they'd want to steer clear from using it again for a major event and a character. So I'm going to bet that this is going to be a Batwoman from Earth 1. Nobody has come out to say whether she'll already be Batwoman by the crossover and going into the series, she'll already have her suit and name, or if they'll do the Barry Allen method where they introduce Kane, but she won't become Batwoman until the first episode of her show. Speaking for myself, I prefer seeing Batwoman in the crossover and then go in depth about her origin story in the pilot episode. But I'll talk more about her origin story in a little bit. The series is being produced by Greg Berlanti, is expected to premiere in 2019. Unclear if it's going to be this spring or in the fall, but I'm mostly expecting it to premiere in the fall. The series synopsis that was released with the report reads, Kane, armed with a passion for social justice and a flair for speaking her mind, soars onto the streets of Gotham as Batwoman, an out lesbian and highly trained street fighter primed to snuff out the failing city's criminal resurgence. But don't call her a hero yet. In a city desperate for a savior, Kate must overcome her own demons before embracing the call to be Gotham's symbol of hope. So if you're unfamiliar with the Kane Batwoman, here's a clip from Batman Bad Blood that explains a portion of her origin story.
Investigative report on Batwoman, aka Catherine Kane.
Katie? You know her?
Her father is Colonel Jacob Kane, military intelligence. On Catherine's 12th birthday, she and her twin sister Elizabeth were abducted, along with their mother Gabrielle, and held for ransom. Colonel Kane led a rescue mission that saved Kate's life, but in the attempt, both Gabrielle and Elizabeth were murdered. She would follow in her father's footsteps enrolling at West Point, but ultimately expelled. Something broke inside Kate. 2 years later, Catherine emerged as Batwoman. She's impressive, but her methods make her a danger to this city and to herself. It's time for me to decide if I'm going to take her under my wing or take her down.
So the reason for why she left West Point in the comics was because she was in a relationship with a female student. She moves to Gotham and starts a wild lifestyle, gets a speeding ticket from Renee Montoya, who eventually becomes the Question. They start dating and then they break up. Then she's later attacked by a mugger and Batman intervenes. That's how she gets inspired to become Batwoman. She and her father train together around the world for 2 years, and when she returns, her father gives her a bat suit that he made for her. So already you can see how her origin story screams CW material. Now, they probably tell her origin story through flashbacks, and they might modify her origin story a little bit. They could make her kidnappers a bigger mystery, possibly involving the big bad of the series. As for Batman characters, I'd say that Batman and any of the Robins are currently off limits. Batman for obvious reasons. Warner Brothers wants Batman in the film area considering that that's their most popular character. There's more money to be made off of a film Batman than a TV Batman. As for the Robins, since there's a Titan series and since there's going to be 2 Robins, Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, I'd say to avoid competition, they'll avoid using any Robin on the Batwoman series as of right now. Personally, I prefer for Batwoman to get a full season on her own without Bat family characters showing up to avoid them overshadowing her. Moving forward to Season 2, Season 3, you can start to build on the Bat family characters showing up in this series. I'm sure for the first season, we'll get all kinds of Easter eggs to Batman in Gotham, news headlines, sketch photos, you name it. I don't know if they can name drop Batman just like that, but they'll probably mention him as the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader, stuff like that. In regards to future Bat characters showing up, just think about some of the least popular characters that aren't showing up in the DCEU in the near future. So Spoiler and Bluebird, characters like that, those are my top picks for characters that can eventually show up in the Batwoman series. If anything changes in the near future, then some of the more bigger characters could show up, maybe Tim Drake's Robin, Orphan, maybe even the Huntress if Jessica DeGale wants to come back and isn't cast on a different show or film. But characters like Renee Montoya and her dad, Jacob Kane, those are characters that you'll see in the show for sure. And then sometime down the road, Renee Montoya will probably adapt the Question identity. But as for Nightwing, Red Hood, and even Batman himself, that might take some time because a lot can change in the DC film world, or that might never actually happen. Really, the problem is having two Batmans coexist. If two Batmans exist and the TV Batman does better than the film Batman, more fans are going to support TV Batman, thus Warner Brothers won't make as much money off a TV Batman compared to a movie Batman. There are exceptions to this rule, a la The Flash, Superman, but since Batman is their most popular and most profitable character, Warner Brothers will want all of that revenue to go to the film Batman. As for Nightwing and Red Hood, since Titans is just starting, they also don't want competition, so once Titans goes off the air, or if the execs feel like they won't lose money if two Nightwings exist, then Batwoman has the all clear to use them. But then again, I don't want the bigger Batman characters to be featured heavily on this series because that would just overshadow her. Instead, I'd prefer if they treat it as like a recurring role. Think more in the lines of the Jesse Quick and Jay Garrick Flash on The Flash. But besides from Bat family characters, what about villains? Batwoman does have a few villains of her own, but considering that she is a Bat family character, they don't want to miss the opportunity of putting in some Batman villains into the show. What the show could do that all the Arrowverse shows have done at some point is pick a lesser known villain and remake the character to fit the story of the season. A perfect example of a lesser known villain would be Damien Dark. But as for Batman villains, I'd say it'd be the same deal for the Bat family characters. Feature the lesser villains in the first season and move up to some of the bigger characters that aren't featured or aren't going to be featured in the DCEU. So Black Mask, Two-Face, Catman, those are some of my safe bets. Poison Ivy, Penguin, Lady Shiva, and Talia al Ghul might be more problematic. Poison Ivy and Penguin already exist on Gotham, but that show might be ending next year, and they're still pretty big characters that can be used in the DCEU. And as for Lady Shiva and Talia al Ghul, those are League of Assassin members. The League doesn't exist anymore in the Arrowverse, and Talia has history with Oliver within that universe. So they'll have to find a way to bring Talia and Batwoman face to face, and Talia's status is currently unknown considering that she was on the island at the end of the season 5 finale of Arrow. But if they want to use her, they'll just explain that she survived the explosion somehow. But as for the Joker and Harley Quinn, again, two characters that are more profitable in the film area than the TV area. So as for how many episodes this series will get, how television works is a show gets pitched to a studio, then a network, the pilot script gets worked on, they start casting, they film the pilot, and now this is where it starts to get a little rough. If the network likes the pilot, they'll pick it up, but if not, then it gets canceled. So with the Arrowverse, I'd assume that the series does get picked up. I'm pretty confident about that. But since Batwoman is appearing in the crossover first, the network can use the fan reception to sway the decision on the series. If the character is a total disaster, the network might decide to cancel the show before the pilot is even filmed. If there's mixed reviews, mixed reception, that would sway the network to have mixed reviews as well, meaning that the pilot better blow them away and exceed their expectations. But if the character is well received during the crossover, which is what I'm expecting, then the network will probably pick it up for a 13-episode season. Once the show airs in 2019, they'll have the potential to do a full season order, meaning that they could air 22 or 23 episodes, so that really depends on how well the first couple of episodes do for the network. Again, if it's really, really good, full season order. If not, they may not risk it. As for my personal thoughts, I think that this show has a lot of potential. It's featuring a Bat family character in present day, so it won't be a prequel series like Gotham. So it might be more interesting considering that we might see fully developed Batman characters. This series would make it the 6th DC series on the CW on air right now, technically the 5th Arrowverse show, considering that Black Lightning isn't a part of the Arrowverse yet. So I have a feeling that this show might be used to sort of replace Arrow, considering that it's on its 7th season and renewals for more seasons aren't guaranteed anymore. So I'll totally do more videos about the Batwoman series. I'll also be doing videos on different characters that I want to see on the series at some point, not just for season 1. And that will be for heroes and villains as well, so that should be really fun to make. But here's my question to you guys. What are your thoughts on a Batwoman series, and who would you cast to play Batwoman? Leave your thoughts and fan casts down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for future Arrowverse videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and other than that, my name is Jobi-Wan Kenobi. May the Force be with you, and have a marvelous day from the LA to the DC.